The collapse of the Airbnb gold rush is here. Hosts are leaving in droves, cities are cracking down, and profits are vanishing. But is this the end of the road or a start to a new strategy? Let's talk about it. Airbnb hosts are facing a lot of challenges right now in 2024. Bookings are down, operating costs are up, your average daily rate is going down. It's almost like it's a chase to the bottom in a lot of markets throughout the US. There's a ton of competition as well. And I'm gonna use my market, the Pocono Mountains, as a reference point for this entire video, just to give you an idea of what is actually happening, because you can take what is happening in the Pocono Mountains and you can compare it to a lot of different places in the US, especially those destination areas where short-term rentals are the highest. And on top of all this, regulations in cities like New York, San Francisco, and Santa Monica are tightening, making it increasingly difficult to operate. And even here locally in the Poconos, you have changes all of the time from these HOAs and from these townships, and it's so hard to keep up with. For many, the promise of financial freedom or just creating an extra income stream from Airbnbs is becoming not possible. So let's take a further look into what is actually happening. One of the biggest reasons for all of this is oversaturation and competition. As Airbnb grew over the past decade and a half, so did the number of hosts actually looking to get into the process, right? And get into owning a short-term rental and trying to make some extra money. And then the pandemic happened and everything exploded during that time period, which drove more and more people to start investing in places like the Pocono Mountains or in places like Florida, right? Because they just wanted to get away. And that was a huge driving force to what we're currently seeing. So when so much demand is going into the markets all over the US for second homes, for vacation homes, and for other investment opportunities, that is going to drive up prices as well for these properties. And in areas like the Pocono Mountains, which has always been a destination area, and values have not been that expensive, right? So properties like the one that I own now were selling before 2020 in the $100,000 range. And now in 2024, they're like $400,000, $500,000 in some areas. So the competition, the saturation of the market, it's what's really driving that collapse of the gold rush of Airbnb. Now hosts are desperate to attract guests. And you know what that means? They are slashing their prices. It is a true race to the bottom right now in the Poconos and in a lot of areas like the Pocono Mountains in the US. And what happens when you race to the bottom? You cut your profit. So when you're reducing your average daily rate, you're not making more money, you're making less. And here's the kicker, your operating costs are higher. The cost to operate your home as a short-term rental are not going down, they're actually going up. So when you're racing to the bottom, reducing the value of the nightly rate for your home, that means you're making less money. And this is what's causing a lot of people to want to sell their properties. The next big hit to the Airbnb market were regulatory crackdowns, right? So a lot of these cities and a lot of these townships or HOAs throughout the country started really cracking down. Cities like New York now require short-term rental hosts to register their properties, live on site during stays, and limits guests to 2 per booking. And then you have places like Hawaii where they're rewriting the rules and regulations to push out short-term rentals and to ban them almost altogether. And even the Poconos aren't immune. Like I already mentioned before, there is so much. There have been lawsuits. There have been so many regulatory changes. These HOAs are just making things up as they go, and they're making it so hard for owners to rent their property. They're tacking on such high rates to get a rental license. In my specific township, it's $250 from the township and then $600 from the HOA per year, right? And those fees don't ever go away. So that means that if you're reducing your nightly stay just to keep up, just to entice guests to book your property, those fees aren't going down at all. And it's $25 for a rental packet per stay, right? And a lot of people do put that back on the guest, but some don't. So as you can see, with these regulatory crackdowns, with all these cities throughout the US and all these areas that are in HOAs, and they're really trying to severely limit and ban short-term rentals, that is also causing a lot of people to sell as well. With all of these new restrictions, limiting the number of nights or how many people can stay, revenue has dropped significantly and hosts cannot keep up. If you are an Airbnb host and you are feeling the pinch, just drop a comment below. I would love to see what's going on and to see if there is an opportunity to help. But if you are feeling that stress and you need to sell your property in the Pocono Mountains or anywhere in the US and you need a great agent, click that link below and just schedule an appointment with me. We'd love to chat with you and see if I can help. Short-term rentals have also significantly impacted housing affordability in many regions. By turning residential homes into vacation properties, it has limited the amount of homes and inventory available to people who are looking to buy and live in as a primary residence. This drove prices up and it drove rent prices up as well. And that caused a huge outcry from a lot of locals in certain areas. In cities like Asheville and Sedona, Arizona, locals have protested against Airbnbs, arguing that they are pricing residents out of their own communities. That has also happened in the Pocono Mountains as well. And I've seen this firsthand because locals can't afford to rent anymore. And they also can't afford to buy because values have skyrocketed. And this has caused a huge outcry from a lot of long-term residents in the areas. This backlash has led to stricter regulations in many areas, discouraging new investors and forcing existing hosts to reconsider their strategies. And in my opinion, probably the number one reason why hosts are selling their homes right now is simply because the numbers do not work anymore. And a lot of that has to do with buying a bad deal. And unfortunately, if you're buying a deal in 2023 or 2024 and you're not utilizing cash, because not a lot of people have cash to buy these investments. So if you are like that mom and pop investor like myself, I'm not a big institution. I'm not throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars at properties to rent them out. But if you are utilizing loans, USDA loans, FHA loans, conventional loans, whatever it is, and you're only putting 3, 5, 10, 20, 25% down, your costs to operate, to own that property are still so high because of interest rates, right? So a lot of people, the numbers just don't make sense. And they didn't understand getting into it, what it was actually going to take to run that property. So if the numbers don't make sense and you own this home and it's bleeding cash every single month for you, you're going to want to sell it. And in a lot of cases, you're unfortunately going to have to take a hit when you sell, and you might potentially be underwater, especially in places like Florida and down south that unfortunately were hit by severe hurricanes. And if second home short-term rental owners had properties down there, unfortunately, they're going to be taking hits when they try and sell. So with all that said, is there still an opportunity? While the golden age of Airbnb might be over, there are still opportunities to be had if you do it right. The key, in my professional opinion, is targeting niche markets and really, really, really diving deep into great, absolutely phenomenal customer service. Luxury stays, unique experiences, and pet-friendly properties are thriving even in oversaturated markets. Whatever market you're deciding to invest in, you have to do a deep dive and figure out what are the most popular amenities that people are looking for. And then you have to figure out, okay, how can I add this to my property without extremely overblowing my budget, right? You have to buy right. That's always the most important thing when it comes to real estate investing. You make your money when you buy. If you're buying a property that is overvalued, then you're not going to do well. So if you can find something that needs a little bit of work that you can put some sweat equity into or put a little bit of equity into and grow the value of that home, then you're going to do well. The Airbnb market has shifted. It is not as lucrative as it was the past few years. So that means that if you're in that position and you're not making money anymore, stop bleeding, start selling. And I know it's so hard for a lot of people to hear, but if you're going to continue to lose money on a monthly basis, you need to figure out your exit strategy. And for a lot of people, that's just selling and being done with it. Again, let me know your thoughts below. I would love to help in any possible way if I can. Looking forward to hearing from you soon. Have a great day.